Guys, guess what? It is Top 5 Wednesday time. And Top 5 in this week's topic is books that are forgettable. Although for me, I picked books that were like, I just thought were okay, but I haven't necessarily forgotten them completely. But I'm not in love with the books. So before I get to that, before I tell you my 5, although I might have changed it to 6, even though it's top 5, it's supposed to be top 5. Top 5 Wednesday is a Goodreads group created by Ginger Reads Laney and Sam from Thoughts on Tomes. It's currently being hosted by Sam from Thoughts on Tomes, and I will post the link to the group if you are at all interested in doing Top 5 Wednesday and you would like ideas for topics and such. Okay, so here are my top 5 books, and as usual, like I said, this is in no particular order, and I always do a Word document so I can put it on my blog. If I want to, I can put it on my blog, and just to think about it, consider what I want to say. So if my eyes do start to shift and not look straight at the camera, it's because I'm looking at my Word document that I have up. Okay, so the first one, and most of these I do not actually have anymore. I donated them to the Art Used bookstore. So the first one I decided to talk about is The Castor Chronicles. I was entertained by the series. I think like it a little bit more than most people. Most people kind of hated it, I think, and said it got worse as the books progressed. I personally don't see it and don't agree with that. But at the same time, I also didn't think it was like the best series ever. I did like the setting. I thought that was really cool, especially because I have a little bit of Southern in me. And I am currently living in the South right now. Well, technically my state is called North Carolina, where I live, but it's still, I think the Carolinas are still considered Southern, even if it's North Carolina. And I also like that the story is told mostly from the perspective of the male protagonist, Ethan Waite. If you are interested in the book, this is basically about these two people. This girl, she's a witch, or they prefer being called casters, and this kid, Ethan, falls in love with her, but there's a curse on her family that she could turn evil. She could turn, the women in their family can either turn dark or light, basically evil or good, and there's a curse where it's inevitable that Lena, the girl, will eventually turn dark, and Ethan's ancestor fell in love with Lena's ancestor, and that's kind of what started the whole curse in the first place. So, like I said, there were some cool aspects. It was entertaining, but it just felt like a generic, typical paranormal YA novel. Nothing super special. Like I said, there were aspects I did like that made it a little different. Like, it was mostly told from a boy's perspective, and the setting was kind of cool. But other than that, it's just like, and I donated it. I'm the type of person, though, who doesn't like to DNF that many books. I try not to DNF that much. I mean, I've gotten more into the idea of DNFing, but I wanted to finish the series. And I didn't even reread the first one. Like, I read the first one years and years ago, and then I finally got around to reading the other 3 books, because there are 4 books in the series. And I just I continued them. I wanted to finish it, and I did, and then I got rid of it. I donated it. Okay, so the next one, number 2, is, and this is gonna probably be one of the controversial ones, but that is Leigh Bardugo's The Grisha Trilogy. Now, I do like Leigh Bardugo's Six of Crows duology. I really loved that. I really enjoyed that. This trilogy was just okay. It was entertaining, and again, it had some aspects that made it a little different. Like, the magic was really cool, and I like how, it was set the setting was kind of inspired by Imperial Russia. I think it was Imperial Russia. So I thought it was okay. It was interesting. And part of the problem was, normally I am a fan of best friends falling in love trope, which was in here. But then people pointed out, they kept pointing out to me that things that I didn't think about before, that the male best friend that falls in love, that the protagonist is in love with, isn't always that great of a guy. He's not accepting of who she is, who our protagonist is as a person. She has the plot is basically she's a girl she's a soldier in the military of where they live, but then it's discovered that she has Grisha powers, like really special Grisha powers, which is their magic system. And the guy who runs all the Grisha, which it's the Darkling, decides to take her in and train her, and she becomes part of this group of people and of the Grisha world. I was just it was not wow for me. I mean, I was entertained by it, and like I said, I like to try to finish most of the books that I start, especially series, if I bought all the books in the series. Like, I don't want to DNF a series. I try to avoid that. But it was entertaining, but I wasn't as in love with it as other people are. I mean, I do want to read her Language of Form books, which are the fairy tales of her compilation of the fairy tales that the people in this world would read, and I want to read her. I know that she's working on a book about the character of Nikolai, who was my favorite character in this book series, in this trilogy, not a series, this trilogy. I want to read that one, so I will continue reading her books. Just like I recently donated the Moral Instruments and Infernal Devices to the used bookstore because, I was just not as into Cassandra Clare at that point, at the time, so I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna donate them. It would make a really big dent in my collection, and that's what I try to do because, I want to buy more books, and my mom was telling me that she's not gonna buy me another bookshelf. I mean, I probably could buy myself another bookshelf at some point. But it had been a long time, and I still hadn't gotten around to rereading them. I mean, I did attempt to reread Moral Instruments, so I ended up donating those as well. But the point of me telling you this is, Cassandra Clare is an author I'm going to continue to read. Like, I have the Bane Chronicles, and I did read the first story in that one. And I got Tales from Shadowhunter Academy for Christmas, and I'm going to read that one, and then I want to read The Dark Artifices, and I think she has a couple other series that she's going to work on, that she's going to do in the future. So I'm going to keep reading her, and I'm also going to keep reading Leigh Bardugo. So I'm going to donate them, and plus, I think I'm doing my bookstore a favor, because they don't have a lot of YA novels, in their collection. It's mostly like they have a lot of mysteries, they have a lot of literary fiction, but not a lot of YA and fantasy and stuff. So I'm helping them out and updating their collection when I donate my books. Okay, so next. Okay, so this is one that I got from the library because I'm not a huge fan of reading contemporary, but I've decided to give some contemporary this past year. I decided to give some contemporary a shot, and the ones that I read were okay. They were interesting. They were entertaining. And that one of the ones was The Upside of Unrequited. I was constantly hearing about this book, and from what I heard, the main character Molly is very relatable. To people like me who have anxiety issues and are very shy and very insecure and all that stuff. And she also has, weight issues. And well, first let me tell you, if you by some small chance have not heard what this book is about, this is about a girl, Molly, who she's overweight. Her parents, she has a twin sister who's a lesbian. She lives with, just like her two moms, her two moms have raised her. She has had, and Molly has had 27 crushes. She has never told a guy that she liked him and gone out with him. She's just crushed on guys. And her sister has got a new girlfriend. Once again, her sister's a bit of, dates a lot. I mean, she's not, and she decides she's going to help Molly get a boyfriend. And what motivates this is actually is because Molly develops a crush on her sister's new girlfriend's brother's friend, I think, or it might be the brother. I don't know. No, actually, I think it's his friend. So her sister decides it's time that Molly needs to have a boyfriend, at least just someone to date, And then there's Molly starts a new job, and there's a guy that she kind of likes that works with her. And then there's the other plot of the two moms. This is around the time. This is like recently because it's contemporary. So this is around the time that like gay marriage is made legal. So their two moms can finally get married. So I thought it was entertaining. I thought it was cute. But after a while, like, nothing really special. I mean, I know, shocking, right? But, I mean, as I've said before, I'm not a huge fan of contemporary anyway. So I'm just trying it out to see if I like it, to add more variety. Because I am a firm believer that you need to add variety in your reading. You can't just read the same type of books all the time. Or only, like, one genre. Or just read, like, non-fiction. I mean, unless you just struggle with reading, or just can't, or if you're like, I know one person that, a friend of mine has, well, she's not, okay, rewind, I have know of people that just can't read fiction, because they just don't get fan fiction, don't get fiction, don't get the appeal of it, and, don't get the idea of why people love it so much and why they just want to escape in a fantasy world when there's real world problems going on. But of course everyone's entitled to their opinion. But basically though, I think it's still important to at least attempt to read different things than what you usually read. At least try it. And, I mean, if you're not successful at it, then okay, you can't do it. Nothing's wrong with that, but I do believe you should at least try. Okay, my phone just dinged. I'll get to that in a minute. Okay, so I thought that was okay. It was cute. I thought, I can relate. Maybe I can relate to this. And after a while, I just realized I could not relate to Molly that much. I mean, I could relate to her a bit. But after a while, she just got kind of annoying. Like, she was so insecure. And maybe that's because I'm starting to not be as insecure. As, I'm getting more confident in myself. So maybe that's why. But it's just, I mean, and I'm not trying to diss people that have anxiety. Because I think I have a little bit of anxiety myself. So I, definitely respect that. But, like, I get, I just didn't like it as much as everybody else did. Okay, so my phone dinged again. Let me check that and make sure it's not something important. Okay, sorry about that. Like I said, I wanted to make sure it wasn't important, but I just got dinged because it was a group message. We've been watching our neighbor's dog, and and they just want to they're having a party at their house today that we're invited to, and they just wanted to let us know that they were gonna put their little doggy in our garage. So anyway, okay, so the next book number 4, is okay. So I've been trying to read more classics. I've been trying to read Jane Austen. I mean, I've only really seen the movies based on her novels. And I did read Pride and Prejudice years ago. And I gave my my copy of it back to my sister because it was her. I believe it was her copy. And then because I ended up buying, first of all, it was hers, and second of all, I have this, which is a collection of all 7 of her novels. The only problem with having these, is they're beautiful and everything, but they're heavy. So I can't take them with me on trips and stuff when I go places, unless I only bring, like, maybe 2 books. Like, one other book in this. Or maybe I could get away with bringing, like, 2 other books in this. But this is just really heavy. But, the one I'm talking about is Sense and Sensibility. I thought that Sense and Sensibility was, again, this was just another novel that was okay. Not like, oh my god, this is the best. I mean, I still haven't found a novel from one of her collection that I'm like, wow, awesome. I mean, I really enjoyed Pride and Prejudice. But like I said, but I kind of prefer watching the movie over reading the novel. Although the good thing about her novels so far that I've discovered, at least from reading those 2, is the chapters are quick. They're not that many pages, so it doesn't take that long to read. They're very quick reads, her novels. But I'm not a huge romance reader anyway. There are some, like, epic romances, like Gone with the Wind, and I just got this book called Roses. I can't pronounce the author's name, but she's, I think that's an epic one. And then I also I want to read North and South, and that one sounds really good, and that's I like that a little bit more than Pride and Prejudice. Now, I haven't fully read the book. This is another one I've only seen the screen version of it. And then, I like Jane Eyre. I'm very particular about my romance, essentially. I won't read, like, those ones that are written today that you could buy at the, at Walmart, or the airport, or the grocery store. And that's also how I feel about and I'm also very picky about the, mysteries and stuff, and thrillers. Because just like romances, they kind of get boring to me after a while, because they all kind of seem very similar. The only difference is the characters might be a little different, and they're looking for something else. But it follows the same formula, and I don't like formulaic books, because after a while they get boring. But in case you haven't, Sense and Sensibility is basically about 2 sisters, Marianne and Eleanor. And they have been kicked out of their house by their brother because his new wife has manipulated him into thinking they are taking advantage of him. So the 2 sisters and their mother moved to a cheaper house in the country, and it's basically about them living in this new town, and of course it's Jane Austen, so there's romance. Eleanor is in love with this one guy, actually the brother of her brother's wife, but she thinks he's engaged to someone else, and she's the kind of person who tries to not get too emotional and hung up on someone. She tries to be the sensible one. And then you have Marianne, who's more over dramatic and very emotional and has all these fantasies about love and everything, and she's the romantic between the 2 of them. And she falls for this guy who's like this rich guy, but her sister doesn't approve of this guy. She doesn't trust him, and thinks that Marianne is getting too carried away in this room with this guy. But then, there's another gentleman, Colonel, I can't remember what his name is, who is in love with Marianne, but he's very stoic, he's very serious, he's not good with showing his emotions, he's very, kind of indifferent, or at least he seems that way. And Marianne and her new beau, the guy that she loves, constantly make fun of the Colonel, but he still loves Marianne. And Eleanor likes him. I think Eleanor likes the Colonel better than the other guy. So, So it was, again, it was typical Jane Austen, cute, fun, funny, but it wasn't anything like super special to me. And I was just like, and I had a hard time relating to Eleanor and Marianne. I mean, Marianne just got frustrated me and annoyed me, and Eleanor also kind of frustrated me too. And I'm not as sensible, as practical, and I don't keep my emotions in like Eleanor does. But I'm not as dramatic and over emotional as Marianne is. I have a little bit of a practical. So it was hard for me to relate to the characters. I did like the Colonel Brandon. That's the and other than that, it was okay. And I mean, I like the whole sister plot. Because the plot is also about their relationship and how much they care about each other and love each other, despite the fact that they are constantly judging each other. But then again, that's typical sisters. And I like reading stories about sisters because I can relate to that. I have an older sister that I have a pretty good relationship with. So I definitely have a soft spot for stories about sisters. But this is a lovely edition. If you I recommend, if you're big on collecting editions of books, of classics and stuff like that, then I definitely recommend getting the Barnes and Noble hardback editions, the naked cover ones, because the covers are so beautiful and the pages have colored edges, and there's already in most of them there's already bookmarks. They're only, granted, it's funny that I'm saying this because normally I don't, but I think it's worth spending like $20. It's like 20, maybe a little more than 20. But sometimes if you go to the clearance section, you can find them for a little bit cheaper. Of course, a lot of times those are also the ones that don't have naked covers. But I love those. I mean, I would buy them a lot more, but I haven't. I just don't. I haven't gotten to the habit of buying them, but I really like these ones. They like the different versions of all the classics that they have. They get and Books A Million sells stuff like this too. Sometimes they have certain nice fancy collections. But I kind of prefer these as far as looks wise. As far as aesthetic, that's the word. As far as aesthetic, I like these better than those paperback, like Penguin editions. But the Penguin editions are more practical and easier to handle, and you can travel with them better. Okay, so that was number 4, my 4th book. And then the 5th book, again, another one I do not have, and that is Red Rain by R.L. Stine. See if I can remember the plot. It's a horror, of course, it's R.L. Stine, so it's a horror novel. It's adult horror novel. It's not YA or middle grade. Although, because it's I think it was his first adult novel. It's debatable with how it's written. But it's basically this woman goes to this island, I want to say it's in South Carolina, but it's hurricane season, and she gets caught in the middle of a hurricane, a really bad hurricane, and then she discovers, after the hurricane, and she sees the destruction and devastation of the hurricane, she discovers these 2 orphan boys, who happen to have English accents, apparently, and she takes them in. She falls in love with them instantly when she sees them, and feels so bad for them because they have this whole sob story, and decides to adopt them. And funny enough, the whole adoption process does not take that long. It takes like 5 minutes. I mean, then again, it's a book, so maybe he was just speeding up and didn't want to draw out the whole process. But to me, it was like, really? You got them that quickly? So she takes them in. They're really cute. And then the family is a little weirded out by the kids. They're the 2 boys. They're a little suspicious of them, especially the father, and especially the woman's husband. And right away, the reader starts to suspect something about these kids. And it's a horror novel, so you know something's not right. And it turns out these kids are trying to take over take over the family, and they don't like the dad, and they're like, okay, this guy needs to go. So they try to constantly sabotage him. And then this is the part that made me so uncomfortable and man, it just made me cringe. It's one of these things that just really made me uncomfortable. I don't know why. I mean, it's a horror novel. I don't know. I shouldn't be surprised about this, but they basically hypnotize their new siblings. Like, they try to actually, and it's funny, actually, what they did first was they tried to drown their new brother who couldn't swim. And then he's rescued, and they do this weird thing where they get inside their head and burn their brains, and then take over and hypnotize the kids. And they're already messing with the mom as they've already hypnotized the mom. And they slowly start taking over their school because they have this thing where we want to rule the school kind of mantra, and slowly take over the school and take over all the adults, control all the adults except for their new dad. They can't seem to control him, and there's even this subplot about the dad almost cheating on his wife. But for some reason, the wife never found out about that. There's never consequences to that. But this was it was laughable, in fact. So maybe it shouldn't even be on this list of forgettable books, but it was laughable. It was ridiculous. The kids kind of even got on my nerves. The evil twins, the evil brothers. And, I probably gave this more credit than it deserved because I felt bad, because I am sure it is a little challenging when you've been writing middle grade for so many years to transition to adult horror novels. I imagine that's really hard. So, I mean, as I was typing this up, it's like, well, then there are people like Neil Gaiman and Brandon Sanderson who write middle grade books too, not just adult. But maybe they've been doing it for years. They've been doing both at the same time for years. And, for a long time, R.L. Stine was only writing horror, for middle grade and YA, so adult is probably hard to... But it felt very cliche. It felt like a movie made for TV. The evil characters were really annoying, but also very funny and amusing. I was happy that it had a happy ending, but then again, this is a horror novel. It's not always supposed to have a happy ending. Although it did have a little bit of a twist at the end. So actually it wasn't completely happy. It was kind of a bittersweet ending because of the twist. But it was okay. The novel was cliche. It felt like it was a made-for-TV movie. Like something I would watch on, Lifetime or something. It was a horror novel, and I want to read more horror and everything. And then it was just something my friend bought for me, and I don't remember why she bought it for me. I just remember her asking, maybe it was because my birthday had already happened and she felt like she had to get me something. And I got all, excited at the time when I saw it at the bookstore. And she was like, would you like me to buy this for you? And it's hard for me to say no because it's a book. So Red Rain by R.L. Stine. I don't know if I would recommend you read these other ones, maybe, but not this one. Unless you are, unless you feel like you should at least check it out, but, at least just get it from the library then, if your library has it. It's called Red Rain, by R.L. Stine, so it's okay. Okay, so I wanted to include another book that I actually have that I haven't gotten rid of yet, and that is Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. I know it's a classic, and I shouldn't say that, but, when I first read it, I thought I loved it, but now that I'm reading it again, for the second time as an adult, it's a 28-year-old woman, and to me, it's just it's okay. I get what the author's trying to say with this novel, and I am kind of interested in that movie that they made with, what is his name? I can't remember his name, but the guy who played Beast in the X-Men movies, not Kelsey Grammer, but the other ones with the younger versions. The one, he was dating Jennifer Lawrence for a little while, but then I think they broke up. I cannot think of his name. But anyway, that actor, he plays J.D. Salinger, and it's about J.D. Salinger writing this book. So I get the point of the book. I get the message they're trying to convey. But it was just okay. I mean, the character, and maybe this makes them non-forgettable books if characters get on my nerves, but the main character did get on my nerves. I mean, and I guess the fact that I remember these plots means that, but I had a hard time with this, but I still wanted to do it anyway. I don't like skipping unless I just can't think of anything at all. So I was able to think of something. I don't know if this works, but so this is top 6 actually. But it was okay. I mean, it's a classic, I know, and some people say you should read it because it's a classic. And I mean, and if you want to, go ahead. But to me, it wasn't anything special. And the main character got on my nerves. I can roll my eyes at his behavior, but of course he was also a teenager. And I think teenagers can be annoying. I mean, I can probably still be annoying, and I'm not a teenager, but I think I emotionally am a teenager at times. But yeah. I mean, this wasn't as bad as the last one I just mentioned, Red Rain, but so I wouldn't totally dismiss it. But, this is, again, another one that was just okay. So, those are all my books. Technically top 6, not top 5, but I wanted to include that as a bonus one, because I also have it. In most of the books I mentioned on here, I no longer have. Of course, that's a problem, but of course the topic is forgettable books, and forgettable books you might get rid of anyway, so it probably makes sense that I don't have them anymore. So I really hope this video isn't too long, because I won't have time to film another one, except for until this evening. But I hope what are books that you guys that are forgettable, or at least just okay for you? And like I said, I will leave the link to the Goodreads group if you are interested in doing Top 5 Wednesday, whether you want to join the group on Goodreads or not. And I hope you guys liked my video, and if you did, give it a thumbs up. And if you're just happen to be passing through and liked my video, then please subscribe. Alright, bye!